Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny, and today we need to start this here creating here the backend API. First of all, we need this here the install our system inside the Node.js. Need to needs and also need here the Express.js globals also installs need to needs here, and then after need to possible these commands. First of all, now we need to go here and we need to open this here the terminals, and we need to find out and to import this here this folders paths. We need to first of all the set here the cd, and then after we need to write here the express slash slash view equal to egs and Medicare nodes. Need to give this here the project names and to press this here the enters and to creating here the node.js projects. Express frameworks we need to creating here. Inside we need to integrate here the socket IO for the using here the real time chat messages. So need to sending one user to other users. We need to using this purpose, and also need to identify here the this user online offlines also need to identify with this here the using here node.js sockets need to use here. Now need to open this here the vs coders, and we need to open this projects here. Need to open this here the new window and here's, and we need to open these folders Medicare's nodes inside look like this here the show, and now no needs this here and to close this here, and we need to go and need to need this here the some package are the need to install here, otherwise not working here. We need to first of all the imports set here. I need to write down here the command npm installs. To install this related all library, you need to installing here's maybe access issue. You need to first of all the fix here the sudo and to calls if you gets any access issue for npm, then to look like this here the right here command and enter passwords and installing. Now this is the fix this here the issue, and also need to fix this here the parse command use like here's same issue, so we use here the sudo and like here fixing this issue. Now this is the express members are the done. We need to needs here the another package need to install here. First of all, need to import this here the config. Need to write down here the npm save I, and we need to give this here the name as a config and install this package. Maybe here permission issue need to fix here. Use here sudo this command above, and like here the installing this. And other way we need to give this here the directly this here the libs names and to direct install this here the npm install commands, but we need to one by one installing this all libs. Now we need to cross platform errors. We need to fix. We need to need this here the course. If you use here the cross platform errors inside your system, then to also need this here the libs cross also install here. Then after we need to install this here the movement time zones plugins also need here. Then after we need to multiparts also needs for the form data API making. So we need to need this here the multipart libs. Then after we need to need this here the database connections with MySQL. So we need to need this here the MySQL lib. I need to import here. Then after socket IO. Like here, so need to creating socket IO also imports here. And last one, so need to UUID. Need this here the unique identifications ID need to generate for randomly. That's why I need to need this here the UUID. Like need to most of library you need to need it. This is the common library for the Node.js. Need to use here the many times and look like this here the make sure need to all libraries are the installs here. Now we need to save these files and we need to go inside app.js files, and we need to configure this here the one by ones needed configuration. First of all, making here the controller folders we need to develop here, create here the new folders, and we need to give this here the name as a controllers, like need to set here, and another folders need to also need here. We need to paste this here new folders and set here the name helpers, like here, and also need to previous project inside the many time explains here the helper class. Today not explains in the helper class. If you not see here the previous any node.js starting video, please first of all the see, and now directly use inside the my our public githubs need to use here in this CodeForAny, and need to copy this here the raw data and to paste here these files inside. First of all, making here the file names, create here db helpers, db underscore helper, dot js, and another js also needs here helper js. For the inside we need to all common functions we need to write down here and many time use, need to create here the one times and many time use, like this. We need to create here the js files. Now we need to open this here the web page, and we need to search here the github CodeForAny and online glossary shops app backends api node.js. Use these urls and we need to go here. Otherwise, if you open this here the CodeForAny, and we need to go repository, and we need to find out here the online glossary node.js backend api. We need to find like this here, and we need to go inside the helper class and open this here the db helper js. Now here to copy this row, otherwise you can download this file directly here. Now we need to go inside the copy row files, and we need to put here inside the db helpers, and now need to save this here these files. Same as now need to copy this here the helper.js files. Now need to open this here the helper.js file, go helper, and we need to copy this here the row files, and we need to paste this here the helper class. Now we need to save here. Now we need to write down here the explain in details how to create here the app.js. Now first of all we need to declare here the needed required path. We need to put this here, and required library titles we need to put here. First of all we need to need this here the code const. We need to write down here. We need to set here the course is equal to required, and need to write down here the single quotes inside the course, like here, and semicolons. Then after we need to also need here the file reads. We need to create here the dynamic readers for the controllers. That's why I need to use this here the required native library. No need to install inside the package.json. This is the native for the node.js. Now we need to creating here the servers. First of all we need to write down here the void where server is equal to, we need to call this here the required, and we need to pass this here the http dots. We need to call this here the create server, and we need to pass this here the app variables. These variables we need to pass here, and to creating like this here the server variables need to declare here. Now also need to configure this here the IO. We need to configure also needs here. Need to declare IO is equal to, we need to call this here the required, and single quotes inside pass this here the socket IO, like this lib, and we need to create here the server functions. Use this here the servers variables, and we need to create here the brackets, and to pass this here the course, and we need to pass here the origin. If you use here the real time in server, so please give this here the base urls of the servers, which parts to your runs. If you use here the AngularJS, then to need this here put like this here the running pods inside we need to put here and to give this here the origin access. Otherwise not access this here the methods and servers need to cross cross errors cross origin errors need to get inside the your projects. That's why I need to always need to put this here the now we need to pass here the methods. We need to give this here the access as a get methods and post methods. To access need to provide this here like here, and we need to creating like this here the IO. Now declares here the server pods also need to declare, and for these dynamic parts pods need to set here, and we need to run this here the pod 3002 pods need to run in these servers. Now also need to declare here the all save inside the real times inside the user connected sockets. Also need this here the list need, and need to directly access this here the connected socket user list like here, and we need to save these here. Like we need these variables declarations and to set here the configurations. Now also another configurations also needs here for the Express.js uses. We need to set here uses inside the set here brackets, and we need to pass this here the limit. We need to set here 100 MB. We need to set here. Then after the extended, we need to set here the true. Then after we need to also pass same as parameters as a limit here, and cookie parsers like the statics variables we need to declare here, and we need to set this here. Now we need to declare here the core options const course option is equal to need to create here the object brackets origins, and we need to pass this here the same copy here and to paste this here this origin access. Then after need to use this here the app.use, and we need to pass this here the this core, and pass this here the inside the option core option like here. So need to write down here and to save this here. Now most important parts of the reading this here the controllers inside the files. We need to create like here the create new files, and to give this here the name login controller dot js, and also another js need to need this here socket controller dot js. Socket controller js today not developed, need to tomorrow need to develop this here. Only today covers here the login js inside making here the sample API we need to develop here inside, not main logic inside not right here the, but we need to explain how to call and how to get this here the server response we need to explain, and then to 2 day after we need to start this here the app API we need to developing. Save here. Now need to how to read these files. First of all, so need to use this here the fs functions. Need to declare variables and read directory. Read directory since like need to call here creates here the bracket slash, need to call this here the controllers folders, need to pass here, and we need to get this here the for each loop. Inside we need to get here the file all file here, and now we need to check this here the files inside file dot, need to use this here the subtract sub str, and we need to get this here the -3 equal to dot js file, Then we need to use here these functions. We need to pass here the route is equal to required. We need to set here dot controllers slash plus this file and semicolons. Also, this route inside also pass this here the variables for the controller and pass this here the app IO and user socket connect list. Also need to pass here inside these parameters. This is for the needs and details. Need to pass here. Now making here the controllers how to write down here. First of all, need to another configurations. Need to set here. Now need to write down here server dot listen and we need to give this here the server port here and also need to console log also print here console dot log and we need to write down here server started plus we need to give this here the server port like here. Then after need here the some prototypes need to write down here error array dots need to prototype need to call this here and we need to insert set swap functions need to write down here swap pass here the x and y and we need to write down here the callback functions where b equal to this dot x and this dot x is equal to this dot brackets inside the y and this dot y equal to b like we need to parse here and to return this here this like we need to create here the swap functions same as now creating here the insert functions. We need to pass this here the indexed and pass here the item like we need to write down here need to call this here this dot slice functions need to use this here and we need to pass here the index 0 and need to give this here the item like returning this here the replace insert functions need to making here same as replace all functions need to write down here you need to copy here and another functions replace null and you need to save this here like you need to write down here make sure this expressions like this right otherwise not working here that's why I need to copy and paste other code to need to set here. If you see this here the samples we need to go against here the opens and we need to find out here the Node.js and app.js here and we need to write down this all lines if you copy and paste is good here these lines same all codes are the available for these years. Now we need to go inside the login controllers and to how to write down here the controllers here. First of all, need to need here modules dots need to write down here the export dot controllers. Make sure both names are the same, otherwise not working here. Need to read this here the controllers. These functions names are the both are the same, otherwise not working. Please make sure and to pass this here the parameters app, IO, and another parameters need to socket list underscore list, and need to write down here the callback functions. I need to like here the writing here, and we need to set this here. Now also declares here where and to go inside the publics, and we need to create this here the folders img, and need to declare here the image path is equal to, need to write down here the double quotes slash dot public slash, we need to call this here the img slash, like this need to declaring here the common path, need to create here, and where db is equal to required, and we need to get this here dot slash, and to get this here the helper class slash dbjs, need to use here same as we need to declare here the helper is equal to required dot slash dot, and to get here helpers and slash helper js, we need to get this like functions. Now how to write down here the demo for the API creates here, how to call here the request and server how can response returns, we need to write down here the one sample functions. First of all, we need to declare here the const success and fail message, need to declare msg success, and to write down here success, and const msg fail, to write down here fail, like to constant string to declares here. Now how to write down here, we need to creating here the post methods, always need to use here the post methods, not use the get methods, get method is not secure, that's why I need to using this here the post method always. And like here, so need to write down here, first of all need to write down here the path, need to slash dot api slash, need to write down here the test, this is the path of the API, need to call like this here the http localhost colons, give this here the port 3002 slash, then API slash test, like this need to calls inside the post method. Now right here's request and response callback functions, like here to write down here. Now and we need to print here db helper.dblog, this is the already writes inside the helper class, need to use these direct methods. How to print here the request inside the body, need to write here the request dot body to print all parameters, and we need to save inside the variables request object is equal to request dot body, like here. Now how to return server this response, need to, if you get here the request, server always need to return here the response, if you fail then to return this here the fail response, if you success then to returning this here the success response, but make sure always one time returns here the response, if you send here two times the second response are not sending for the server because the connection are the close. Now need to write down here the returning this here the response, you need to call this here the methods, need to write down here the response object.json, need to use this variable callback here to return this here the response, and need to write down like structures status, need to set here status as a 1, and message also passed here, this is the common method structure, so need to use here, and need to give this here msg success, and Then after also need to pass here the payload. If you sending any data to servers, need to like here, need to give this here the data name here code for any. Now need to save, and also this save file, and we need to how to runs node.app.js to run this here the servers, and we need to get this here the db configs are the not defining, so we need to first of all the fix this here the issue. db config folders need to declare here because we need to forget here. Create here the new folders and to give this here the name as a config, and inside we need to create here the default JSONs new file, and to set this here the default dot JSON, and we need to go here and to write down here the github repo, and we need to backend.js, and to find out here the config folders we need to copy this here the raw data, and we need to paste this here, format this text, save here, and need to write down here the JSON format. That's why I need to showing here the errors. We need to give this here the host name, usernames, and password also. If you set here the local origin set the password, then to give this here the passwords. Now we need to set here the Medicare's database names. Also need to configure this here the database, and also make sure this give this here the character set. If you not set this character set, then to not working here the emoji. Plus make sure we need to give this here this years and time zones, and also enable this here the multiple centers set here the true, otherwise make issue. Now need to save these years, and now again so need to run here. I have mistake here the JS file, not this JS file, this is the JSON file. That's why I need to get here the issue. I need to rename here dot JSONs and to save this here. Make sure your database connections are the MySQLs are working goods. Now need to set here manage, need to start here the Apache server as well as here the MySQL database. Need to also need here the runs, otherwise need to get this here the errors. And make sure need to database names here the config inside past need to match, otherwise not working connections. Now server are the startings, need to wait here, and server are the running done, and to again run this here, and connection established are the done here. But here another issue with here the not found here the functions. Need to make here mistakes with here the socket dot controller inside not put here the controller codes. That's why need to get here the errors. First of all need to fix this here, save here. Now need to runs, and to get this here the server started need to get this here the message with here like here, and to run here. Now need to open this here the postman, here opening this here the postman, and we need to write down here the post methods. Need to call this here http slash localhost colons 3002 what's need to given this here slash API slash test. Need to call here for this API and to send this here, and to get this here the response we need to get here. If you pass this here the parameters inside the body, now need to go inside the home data URL and codes need to pass here. You need to write down here the data as a data one, and need to give this here the name like here need to set, and to sending like this here. Now need to check this here the getting here the response. We need to print here, need to get list and print this log here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care. And tomorrow we need to say this here the socket controllers we need to develop here. And then after we need to creating here the APIs, we need to start one by one creating here the API, and